Bracha is daf lamed ches. We're continuing with kuba da'ara. You take flour, you mix it with water, and it's a liquidy dough, and you put it in the bottom of the oven. According to the Tanna Kama, it's considered bread, and therefore you make hamoitzi and birkas hamazon. According to Rav Yosef, it's considered dough that has a little crust to it, and it's a mezainos and alamichya. Mar Zutra says that this is considered regular bread, and he would be koivea suda. He'd make a whole meal out of it, and therefore he made hamoitzi and birkas hamazon. Mar Baravash, on the other hand, says that this is considered a poor man's bread, and you can make matzah out of this. We have a machloikas, a fundamental machloikas about juices that come out of fruit. Is it only grapes and olives that if you squeeze them and you take out juice, that the juice has the same halacha as the fruit itself, you make a special bracha on it? What about apple vinegar? What about honey that comes out of a date? What bracha do you make on that? There's one man that says that all juices are considered like the fruit, and therefore, when it comes to truma, for instance, if somebody drinks truma juice, any juice, apple juice, whatever it is, he'd be chayiv to pay hegdish back a keren v'chaimish because it's as if he took from truma, and therefore the bracha would be boiri priya eitz on the juice. According to other man Omar, if you took truma juice by mistake, you don't pay a keren v'chaimish because it's not considered a pri, and therefore you'd make a shahakol on the juice. There's a concept called trima. You take fruit and you mash it slightly. The halacha is that by truma, you're not allowed to destroy the fruit. You can't even make beer out of truma fruit because it's considered destroying the fruit. Yet, you're allowed to mash the fruit. And therefore, it's considered truma, and it retains its original bracha that you made originally, and that would be boyer priyayitz. Shasisa is where you take grain kernels and you dry them out in the oven. They're sweet, you add some oil to it, so it depends. If they're thick, then you make a mezainos on them, and if they're very thin, that would be for medicine purposes, and you make a shahakol. Yet on Shabbos, you're allowed to mix it, and you're not allowed to mix medicine on Shabbos. The answer is because you're eating it for food. It just so happens to be there's a side benefit that it acts as a medicine as well. There's a chiddush here that even if you have kavanah to eat it as medicine, since it gives sustenance to the body, you're mechuyev to make a bracha on it, like we mentioned the other day, that any medicine that's medicine plus it gives you sustenance, you're mechuyev to make a bracha on it. The bracha of Amoitzi, you have to make a bracha about the past, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took out the wheat from the ground. So what lashon do we make? Do we make Moitzi? Does that mean in the past, or Hamoitzi? Well, we know halacha, we say Hamoitzi means the past, but the Gemara goes through a whole discussion whether Moitzi, different psukim, mean in the past, or perhaps Hamoitzi means in the past. There's one pasuk that says that Hamoitzi Eschem Mitzrayim means in the future. The Gemara tells us that Barav Zvid was known as a great person and a big baki in the halachas of brachas, and they were telling Reb Zera how great he was. And Reb Zera said, "Bring him over, I want to test him." He came over and he gave him bread, and Barav Zvid said, "Hamoitzi," and Reb Zera was upset. Why did he say moitzi and take us out of our sveikas and explain to us the pshat and the pasuk? But like we said, the halacha is that we say today hamoitzi, which means in the past. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took out the wheat in the past. The Gemara goes into a whole discussion about cooked vegetables. What's the halacha? And the Gemara brings different amoraim that say that it's hadama or shahakol. Rav Chizda says that there are fruit, there are vegetables that are great when they're raw and great when they're cooked, such as carrots, etc. But there are vegetables that start out not that good, like cabbage, pumpkins, beets. The bracha would be, if they are raw, they would be a shahakol. Only after you cook them and you take out the flavor from them, they become flavorable, then they are boyer priyadama. On the other hand, you have vegetables like garlic and leek that as is, they have flavor. But once you cook them, they lose their flavor. Tosfos asks, we know that if you put garlic in the food, it tastes great. Tosfos says, it only tastes great because it absorbs salt and chicken and different things from whatever food you put it into. But if you were just to take garlic and put it into water, you destroy its flavor. And therefore, it starts out as a boyer priyadama, but once you put it into the water and you cook it, it turns into a shahakal. The Gemara says, do not compare this to the machlokes we have by matzah. Everybody agrees that your yaitza in a matzah that was soaked in water, in fact, that becomes a lechem oini, it's a poor man's bread. There's a machlokes whether you cook it could you be yaitza matzah? The Gemara says over there the machlokes would be whether the flavor of the matzah remains in the matzah, and that's the machlokes. But it could be that in our sugya, cooked vegetables, everybody might agree that the bracha would be ha'adama. The Gemara brings that Rabbi Yamin bar Yefes said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that cooked vegetables are shakal. On the other hand, the Gemara brings Rabbi Chia bar Abba, who says that Rabbi Yochanan said that cooked vegetables are ha'adama. The Gemara says there's no comparison between Rabbi Yamin bar Yefes to Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Yefes wasn't medaik as much as Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Chia bar Abba was very exact in the way he repeated over from Rabbi Yochanan. In fact, the Gemara says he would say over everything he learned from Rabbi Yochanan in the past 30 days. Every 30 days he would repeat everything. Another third raya the Gemara brings that there's a turmus, type of a bean that you cook 7 times, and Rabbi Yochanan said a hadam on it. You see that even after you cook it, the original bracha remains. This is Rabbi Chia bar Abba saw Rabbi Yochanan say a bracha on a salted olive, and a salted olive has halacha as a cooked olive. Salt is like cooking. He said a bracha before and a bracha after. There's no raya, says the Gemara, because perhaps he made a shahakal before and a boyer nefashis at the end. And finally, marar, you're yaitza with the stalk of the marar, but if you cook the marar or you pickle the marar, you're not yaitza with the marar. Why? Because the marar loses its marar flavor. Have a wonderful day.